Visiting the Holy Lands during Lent was not simply a trip or tour for Bishop Joseph Cistone. It truly was a spiritual journey.
It was more personal, and how does this Jesus of Nazareth affect me? And I think that's basically, no matter how young or old we are, that's what the scriptures always have to say to us. What does he mean to me? What does his life, his death, and his resurrection mean to me? That's the critical question.
Bishop Cistone had visited the Holy Lands once before, 25 years ago, as a young priest. At the time, he remembers taking many notes, anxious to share the experience with members of his parish community. But this time was different. He didn't take notes, he simply took it in. At a different place in life, he was no longer looking for homily material. Instead, he found himself reflecting on salvation.
It isn't about me, it's about God, and it's about his picture and his future. And it isn't about my best ideas, it's what are God's ideas. So I think that's what's really personally happening to me, and I think the Holy Lands just helped me along in that regard.
While reflecting on salvation and on God's will, Bishop Cistone visited Golgotha, where in the supreme act of love and obedience, Jesus allowed himself to be crucified and laid in a tomb.
I think the most moving visit for me was the tomb. We had a chance to visit and actually go in and venerate the tomb where Jesus was laid, and all of our people were on benches sitting outside the tomb, and myself and the priest who were with us and Deacon Al Oliver had the opportunity to actually go further into the tomb to celebrate Mass. Celebrate Eucharist right there where Jesus had been laid in the tomb and rose from the dead.
From visiting the sites of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection to standing in the cave where Jesus made Peter the rock and gave him the keys of the kingdom, the scriptures and faith come alive.
You drive up into Caesarea Philippi, you see this massive rock wall. It's just huge. And in the rock you see carved out an opening, a cave that goes in. At some time, in front of that opening was a little temple. It was all to the pagan gods. It was, the Roman gods and so on. You would go into that cave, and down there was a huge crevice that would, just fall down there, and that was called the gates of hell. They would just offer live sacrifices to their gods. They would take the life of children and throw them into this gates of hell. Jesus brings the apostles there, and with this huge pagan backdrop and this massive rock, he says, "Peter, you're the rock. You are the rock. And on you I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it."
The pilgrimage was guided by Steve Ray, producer of the popular Footprints of God series. He led the group through the Holy Lands, from Bethlehem to the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River where Jesus was baptized.
You feel something when you go to the Holy Lands. It doesn't matter what surrounds it, what the stone looks like around it. You stop and you pause and say, this is where Jesus was born. This is where Jesus was baptized. This is where Jesus multiplied the loaves and the fish. This is where Jesus spoke to everybody on the mountain, the Beatitudes.
As Bishop Cistone returned to the diocese, which is celebrating its 75th anniversary, he felt a renewed sense of assurance of the Lord's presence and plans for the future.
I just have this great confidence that the Lord is really doing something special for us in Saginaw. And yes, Saginaw, we're not the biggest diocese. That doesn't, Bethlehem was not the biggest city. Bethlehem, why would God pick Bethlehem to send the Messiah, But I think that the Lord has great things in store for us, and I continue to be more and more excited about it.